Hey Kev, let's follow this trail over here. This looks like there might be something waiting down there.
All right. Hey, wait a minute. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I thought it was just me. What the heck is that?
I don't know what that is. Whoa, do you smell that too?
That's unbelievable. Hey, look.
What the?
Hey, look, those branches are moving over there.
What the heck is that?
Holy cow, is that what I think it is? Look at that thing.
Oh my God.
It's a freaking Sasquatch. Welcome to the Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters podcast. I am your host, W.J. Sheehan, author of the series of books, Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters, 28 volumes, paperback, ebook, Kindle, and audiobook, all available at Amazon, or just go to our website, bigfootterrorinthewoods.com, and hit books, and there's all viable links to take you exactly where you want to go. And also check out the shop. I've got 50 different items in there now. Very cool. Hats, hoodies, T-shirts, magnetic bumper stickers, all kinds of cool stuff. Check it out, folks. And now, may I introduce you to my brother and co-host, KJ Sheehan. How are you, Kev?
What's going on, Bill?
Well, I'm not sure when this podcast is going to air, but my birthday is this coming Monday.
Oh, that's right.
So,
Shall we have the royal trumpet?
please do.
Da, 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 da.
Thank you, peasants. Just throw your shekels of gold at
It
my
is the
feet.
king's birthday, after all. We may not be that enthusiastic, but we could have the royal trumpet.
Yeah. So I went out, I treated myself to a new guitar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I went on, it's the same place I got my Stratocaster Coma. I used the Guitar Center's national used equipment end of their business.
Cool.
And you look up like guitars, electric, blah, 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 and they're all over the country. All the different stores post what they have in that category, you know?
That's nice.
And and I found this beautiful 61 Gibson SG reissue.
Ooh, hopefully it comes from the Pacific Northwest and was once played by a Bigfoot.
Awesome guitar. So it's coming from Attleboro, Massachusetts.
Oh, just up north a bit.
Yeah. So I should have it in the next day or two, and I can start jamming on it a bit.
All right, what color is it?
It's like a candy apple red.
Ooh, nice.
But they have this great, there's a name for it too. They have this great paint finish they're putting on these at Gibson now. There's a name for it. I wish I could remember it, but man, it is slick as snot, brother.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
I got some, folks, lots of times when I do accounts on a podcast about Bigfoot or strange things, I avoid many of the brief ones that I've taken in. And tonight, and maybe a few more times going down the road, I'm going to do several of what I call a short. And nevertheless, all of these things are of great interest. And that's why I said to myself, you know what? I got to stop avoiding these things and bring them to the light of day, you know. So this first one here, very bizarre. It was shared with me by a guy named Paul Cancelero, a resident of Washington State. And let me tell you something, folks. Fasten your seatbelts because this is going to get a little weird in a hurry. And this is what Paul had to say. As you already know, Bill, I'm an avid Bigfoot hunter, an enthusiast of all things paranormal. I have a small group of individuals who regularly comb the forests in my state in pursuit of the hairy man. On this particular night investigation, we were in the Kootenai region, and it was approaching midnight when this activity had begun. We, as a group, are relatively speaking a low-budget operation, carrying mostly headlamps and spotlights, with mine being a 1,000,000 candle power spot attached to a 12-volt battery in my backpack. This lamp can light up the front of your porch at 200 yards. It is powerful. So, here we are in the woods. We had heard some growling or grunting coming from out of the trees and had formed a loosely knit circle. With 5 of us present that night, each of us combing the trees. It was actually a loosely knit semicircle. With the 5 of us present that night, each of us combing the trees in a different direction. I was the first of the 5 to sight what seemed to be a soft green light moving between the trees. It appeared to me like a lantern being held by someone walking, held about 3 or 4 feet off the ground. It was casting its glow on the tree trunks as it moved through them. Now, I waited for a short time in the hope of seeing maybe a creature, when finally I hit the spotlight, which illuminated a huge swath of the woods. The green light had disappeared immediately, and there was absolutely nothing there living to be seen when I threw the light on. All of us, as you would imagine, immediately were on high alert, listening and combing the woods for something else to happen. When happen, it did. We started to hear footsteps, bipedal in nature. It sounded like multiple creatures running in the woods, in very close proximity to where we stood. Sounding also like we were surrounded, if you can imagine that in your mind's eye, as I'm telling you what happened. This was followed by the snapping and cracking of branches. We all at this time had our lamps on, combing the immediate area in a 360-degree radius, and we saw absolutely nothing. At one point, as I stood with my spotlight scanning an area left and right that was about 50 feet wide, I actually saw a living tree branch that was about 4 inches thick snap downward with a loud crack, and nothing there was performing the work. Mind you, the branch was illuminated like broad daylight at the point where I was looking. This stomping and running around sound continued for several minutes, everything sounding like it was within 20 feet or so from where we were standing. I thought we were going to be attacked at any moment from some type of unseen foe, but it never happened. Within a span of about 5 minutes or less, the entire forest went silent, and it was all over. My hair was standing on end from head to toe, now feeling what I will describe as an electrical charge in the air, a fact which was confirmed by the other members of the group at the time. We walked over by the branch that I physically saw break before my eyes, and it was fresh, green, moist wood, having been snapped at its thickest point. You couldn't have done the same with your own 2 hands, no matter how hard you tried. In all of our combined years hunting Bigfoot, never had any of us encountered such a phenomena as this. I was so frightened at one point that I felt as though I was going to lose my bowels, and I am a Vietnam War veteran having seen repeated action. Exactly what happened that day is anyone's guess. How does something invisible grunt, growl, and have the strength to break a tree limb? And what exactly was this green lantern floating through the forest? What did it have to do with the whole thing at its onset? This is a mystery as well. What do you make of that, Kev?
That's freaky, Bill. Green lantern floating through the forest. You think it's like a cloaking Bigfoot or something else?
I have no idea, but the snapping, branch breaking, seeing a large fresh branch snapped in front of you, grunting, growling. Nothing seen with all of these lights. And it sounds like it's like virtually next to them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I included that because, a lot of these things are things that are associated with Bigfoot, right? The branch snapping.
Yeah, it's in the Kootenai region, which is a hotbed, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
And these guys are out hunting Bigfoot. No doubt they had been there before.
Right.
So I'm thinking if you're a regular, you live up there, you've been in the Kootenai, which is a huge wilderness. You've been up there at different locations, probably numerous times. So this was, like he said, never before in all of our investigations did we ever encounter anything the likes of what we experienced that night.
Wild.
Really wild. Now this is pretty bizarre, man.
Where are we going on this one?
Well, we're going to a woman named, a man named Gene Grayson, who's a little freaked out by what had occurred while camping. Now, this is what Gene had to say, Kev. Having now fully recovered from recent back surgery, I thought it time to share with you, Bill, my experience while camping in the Grand Canyon. It was in the late 80s that my two brothers and I had gone camping, setting up in a dispersed area on the North Rim, having followed a Forest Service road deep into the area. My older brother and I had slept in separate tents, while our younger brother slept in the bed of the pickup truck. It was around 10 p.m. that I was awoken by several distinct loud knocks on a tree. It was wood on wood, and so I woke up my brothers. The knocks were distinctly spaced apart, as would be the case when someone is splitting firewood. With all of us awake now and listening, this knocking went on for the better part of an hour, as my older brother started teasing us that it was a stick man making the noises. Being now bored with my brother teasing me, he went back to bed, as did my younger brother and myself, albeit more than a little bit uneasy. I had laid in my bag listening to these rhythmic knocks, which more than likely went on long after I had fallen asleep again. In the morning, we drove and walked all around the surrounding area, seeking out anyone else who may have been located near to us, and found nobody. Mind you, I knew nothing about Bigfoot at that time, and neither did my brothers. It was several years later, having taken a position with the Forest Service in La Grande, Oregon, that I had just purchased a small REI tent after finding out that the tent I owned was not waterproof. I went on a solo backpack trip into the Eagle Cap Mountains in eastern Oregon, several weeks before Memorial Day, with the trailhead being empty and running across no one else during my hike. Having brought with me no skis or snowshoes, I made my way up to what was the lower elevation snow line and went to bed early, the temperature being quite cold at the time. I had been well asleep when I was awoken by noises coming obviously from outside of my tent. It sounded like something moving heavy-footed through the woods in an extremely noisy manner, not at all like that of an elk, deer, or even a mountain lion. Bears as well at no time travel in this fashion either. What it was paused for a moment after I had gotten up and turned on the lamp as I shouted, "Who's out there? Get the hell away from my tent!" I heard the creature leave, running through the brush, but it left me feeling a bit unnerved. Here I was alone on this mountain, with my only source of protection being a pocket knife, pots and pans, and a walking stick. I wanted to leave immediately, but thought it better not to race down the trail in the dark to get back to the safety of my truck, And so I laid back down and listened. I must have fallen asleep because in the morning I awoke to the sun warming my tent, skipping breakfast and packing up as quickly as I could. On my way back down, I paused to listen frequently until I had made it to safety. That was the last time I ever went backpacking alone or camping in my tent. To this day, I am uneasy when in the woods, which was never the case before. Very odd, Kev, right?
Yeah, that's a strange one, Bill.
No sighting, but what sounded like evidential proof of something walking, maybe not even knowing she was there until she flipped the lamp, and then running. You know, what can walk, you know, like a human being walking and run down what probably was a fairly steep hillside.
Yeah, absolutely.
At night, in the darkness of night, no less.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you or I tried doing that, we'd be getting whipped in the face on our way down the hill repeatedly and probably stumble and turn our ankle or something.
Yeah.
Now, this is bizarre. Not terribly bizarre, but let's put it this way. This is extremely unique. And this discovery was brought to my attention by Kim O'Donnell, a resident of the state of Alaska. This is what Kim and his survivalist training partner, Ivan, found while practicing their skill set in Alaska. This find, Bill, was made in 1982, a long time before I knew anything to speak of about the Sasquatch creature, as well as some of their reported habits. Ivan and I were honing some of our skills in the field of outdoor survival in what was a fairly remote area of the state. It wasn't inaccessible, having four-wheeled it into the area where we were going, and then hiking on foot the rest of the time spent. We were there for the weekend, working out, trying to find edibles, and determining a plan for survival in such an area as this. Both of us ex-Air Force, and used these times to keep in touch with our former training, as well as being a great form of exercise. What happened, Bill, was this, which I didn't give much thought to at the time. We had hiked into an area where, if it hadn't been for the finding of an animal trail, we wouldn't have gone. About 2 miles or so following this trail, we came upon what was an old wrecked airplane. Now, I'm not an aviation expert in any sense of the word, but the body of the craft appeared to be from, say, the 50s or maybe even the 40s. It was an old-looking plane. This bird had been laying out there, no doubt, for decades, with weeds and brush having taken over the fuselage or what was left of it. The entire plane had been stripped of anything valuable, with all of the mechanical parts, including gauges, landing gear, and engine, being gone. Even the seats had been removed at some point in time. It seemed to me as being a plane that may have been capable of carrying, say, 4 to 6 persons in the cabin, fairly wide and accommodating in that regard. So we had stumbled upon just one of the many planes that have gone down in the state over the years that were found after the fact, having no visible human remains and having been stripped clean of anything of value. Now, here's the odd part, Bill, and why I contacted you. From the looks of this plane, it had gone in fairly hard, nose first, through the trees and brush. Whatever had been there at the time of the impact. The rear door, however, was missing, and its framework seemed to have been enlarged forcibly. In other words, this somewhat oblong or rectangular opening had been pulled outward and widened forcibly. There were no cuts to the metalwork or any damage, as would be the case had a tool such as the jaws of life or anything mechanical had been used. And here's the real kicker. Aside from some bushes growing through the body of the plane, the entire inside was filled with matted down boughs and branches, and it stunk like hell. The interior smelled like feces, and yet there was no feces visible. What we were seeing seemed to me to be a bed or a giant nest of some sort, extending about 10 or 12 feet within the body of the plane. Virtually the entire usable interior space. As I said, I did not know at the time about Sasquatches and what they do or do not do. I simply stumbled upon what I just described to you. I do believe now that something was taking advantage of the plane's usable framework as a basis for a hut or a resting spot. And since none of the area's animal population, to my knowledge, would do such a thing, what else could it have been? This is the question, Bill, that I pose to you and your listeners. Fairly bizarre.
Well, you went from pretty strange to, relatively straightforward and back to pretty darn strange.
Yeah, I mean, these are the kind of things that come through, and because they're brief, I tend to avoid them, trying to bring out, let's say, more grandiose tales, more involved stories that come in. But to me,
I like the triple header tonight, though, Bill.
Yeah, well, they're all of value, and all pose a question. No sighting of a Bigfoot in either one of the three.
Right.
But contributing factors, circumstantial evidence, what do you make? What in Alaska would take advantage of the skeleton of an old airplane to build out what was obviously some type of nest? That stuff didn't get in there by itself.
No.
So something was laying stuff out in there. It was obvious to them that it was put in there. It had to be drug over and spread in the plane and stomped down, or however we want to look at it. And it stunk. So where have we heard about the stank before?
The stank. There's always the stank.
It's always there. It's always there.
The stank is always there.
So there you have it. Several unique. Something, Kev? I don't know if you recall. I'll go through this account again down the road a piece. Do you remember those Boy Scouts that were training for Eagle Scout? And that mountain, it was somewhere in the southeast here, I believe. And they were doing like a night recon through a mountain trail.
Okay.
And during the day, they had laid out some SOS patterns in a field that would be visible from the sky or a higher elevation.
So they were in trouble in some way?
No, it was just part of the test, part of the training.
Okay.
How to make an SOS symbol.
All right.
And what they did was they climbed up in the mountains so they could see what it looked like from above.
Okay.
And then that night, they went on a nighttime reconnaissance mission through the same trail. But they saw a green light that they described as a lantern being held by a person in the distance moving through the woods. And then it started moving very erratically, which could not have been done by a person in the woods at night. So there's more to it, but again, twice the term a green lantern.
Didn't they see some of that, like the mysterious lights in the Bigfoot series?
Oh, yeah, well, orbs,
Yeah.
lights, these things seem to accompany. And even that Skinwalker, Kev, you remember
Yeah.
that one episode where they filmed that orb moving around slowly near that one old dilapidated
Oh,
house?
yeah. The place that had all of the weirdness going on.
Yeah, still does.
Yeah.
And there's this orb just floating around in slow motion. Like, what is it doing? What are any of these things doing,
Yep.
I mean, I've never seen an orb,
No.
floating around.
No.
If I did, I'd certainly be, mesmerized by it or be watching it carefully, but I've never seen an orb.
Yep.
So what
Very
are these?
strange.
Yeah, what are these orbs, We see them in Bigfoot-related incidents. We see them solo. We see them in poltergeist and ghostly encounters. I don't know what the whole orb thing is all about. I'm just befuddled by it.
I'm with you. I don't have an answer because there's all kinds of things. Sometimes people show them on their ring camera, but it could be like a little aphid bug going across it. But a lot of them are proven to not be that.
Yeah. Well, there's, technology is advancing in leaps and bounds. And, there's plenty of stuff. Like, look at this LiDAR in use now.
Yeah.
Like, we never heard about LiDAR until they kind of broke it out a decade ago, if that.
Yep.
And I think it was like the first time I
Putting
ever
it
saw
in
it.
all the cars now,
Say it
Adaptive
again?
cruise. They're putting it on all the cars for like adaptive cruise control and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have that in my car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you put that thing on cruise and you set like how many car lengths you want between you and the one in front of you.
Yeah.
And if I have my cruise control at, say, 65 miles an hour, and I start gaining on you ahead of me and you're doing 62,
Yep.
it will just take me down to 62 so I don't gain any more than my preset car lengths on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all LiDAR.
Yeah. So it's interesting,
Checking the distance.
That's it, man. I remember the first time I saw LiDAR in use, they were stripping away the forest to show some of the old Aztec structures down in the jungle.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. They're like using a drone or something.
Yeah, and they could delete the forest, and you would see the outlines of like roadways and rectangular, and they were obviously structures.
Yeah.
And then they could go into the woods in the trees and come upon the GPS coordinates where these things were.
Oh,
and with a
super
little
cool.
digging and probing around, they were uncovering stone structures.
Yeah.
So very bizarre.
100%.
So what do you got, bro, cryptids in the news?
Yeah, cryptids in the news and other oddities this week, Bill. We talked about this earlier in the week, and I went out and did some research on it, but you didn't know I was going to talk about it. So I am going to call on you to talk about the phone call you had with one of our listeners out there about the Cadborosaurus.
Oh, yeah, man. You want to talk about crazy witness account.
Yeah. So this thing, folks, I'll lay a little bit of groundwork first, Bill. So Cadborosaurus, not named after a Cadbury chocolate bar, by the way, but it is making me hungry. But this thing's been around for hundreds of years, back to the First Nation people of the Canadian Northwest, and it's named after a place called Cadboro Bay in British Columbia. And I've been out in this area of Cadboro Bay, by the way. It's just west of San Juan Island. It's on Vancouver Island, but it's just across a little bit of water from San Juan Island to Vancouver Island on that same San Juan Island side of Vancouver Island. And I make a big deal about San Juan Island because, Bill, when I lived out in Washington State, that was one of our favorite getaways, was to go out to Anacortes, north of Seattle, get on the ferry, go for a little ride out to San Juan Island, and hang out there for a night or two. And it's just like unbelievable. The orca whales come cruising down the shore of the island. I mean, it's just wild place.
Wow.
So
Definitely wild.
definitely wild. So this creature again there's a lot of video on it online of it. It's about 60 feet long typically, and it has like a horse-like or camel-like head, but it's like a big giant eel, for lack of a better description. So, this is a lot like Champ, up in Lake Champlain in upstate New York, Vermont, or even Nessie, for that matter, one of these creatures.
And, the thing was, the description of this, I've seen the pictures and the reports of Champ and Nessie. Those two creatures really seem to fit the MO of a plesiosaur.
Yeah.
Long flippers out of the side, that long, slender neck with an obvious head at the end, but nothing that you would say looks like a horse.
Right.
And nobody describing, Gigunda fangs coming out of their mouth.
Right.
So, but continue, Kev. Go ahead.
Yeah, but there's a lot of video of this thing where it's not a log. You know what I mean? It's some kind of creature moving along with multiple, humps sticking out of the water. I'm not saying they're humps, but it's like a snake-like, eel-like creature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not a log. It's not something sitting still with current moving by it, but not a lot of good pictures of its head. Like it does pop up and it'll blow some air out of its nostrils or whatever, but you don't really get a good feel for what its head looks like in the videos.
Mm-hmm.
So folks out there, if you've seen this thing or if you've seen a great video of it showing its head, let us know. Go to BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com, click on the contact us and send us a note, because I looked a lot and couldn't find it. So now one of the things that's a little controversial about this is, although it's been around for hundreds of years, the big story on it that came out in the local newspaper came out in 1933. And 1933, I don't expect you to know this, Bill, but that was when Nessie became like a really big thing in Scotland in terms of global news.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, so it's like the same time Nessie hit the papers, this beast, some people affectionately call it Caddy, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Short for the Cadborosaurus.
Well, I just want to venture a guess, because I know accounts of this thing go back into hundreds of years.
Oh, yeah.
So 1930 and hundreds was not even 30 or 40% of the time frame since it was recorded.
No.
It is possible in my mind, as you're saying this, that, people started hearing about Nessie and Loch Ness and then said, well, geez, that sounds a lot like what we have over here. And they started to talk about it.
Yeah,
right?
so let's write about Caddy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and maybe even back that far, Bill, in the 1930s, it's okay to talk about Caddy now.
Yeah, we could speak. They're talking about it.
We won't be super crazy, right? Because it's in the news already over in the Loch Ness.
Exactly. That's my thoughts about the timing of that.
I agree. And now, by the way, they have 17, what are believed to be 1,700-year-old petroglyphs out there in British Columbia of images of this caddy-like animal.
Amazing, isn't it?
Really amazing.
And my friend Rich is trying to dig up out of a book. When we were discussing it, he said he saw a photograph of an old woodcut from 1624 or something.
Oh, boy.
That showed the image that the boys did, AI on the computer.
Yeah, so let's go there, Bill. So I laid the groundwork. Now you tell us about what happened this week.
Okay, so I won't belabor the point, but I'll give you the facts as I recall them. And Rob, I know you're out there, buddy of the podcast and a friend of mine, Rob from Chilliwack, British Columbia. I won't give you all of Rob's backstory, but Rob is a smart guy, and it's because of him and his interest that I found out about what just happened in recent days. So Rob and his wife. Now, Rob, if I mess up any of the details, it's not intentional, but we're going to get out basically what you told me. Rob, his wife, and his 15-year-old son and his 15-year-old buddy went to Vancouver Island for a little R&R. They were staying at this beautiful old building. To me, looked like an old mansion from some wealthy person. It was a hotel. And if it was built as a hotel, it was built a long time ago. Beautiful coloring. It was near the edge. Now, this is salt water up there. If you look at a map of the Pacific Northwest, this is all open to the northern Pacific area. So it's salt water. This is not a freshwater lake by any means. The back of the property abuts this water. And going out, I don't know, I saw a picture of it. I want to say 200 feet is an elevated dock on pilings like we're all used to seeing, because this is a tidal area, right? It's ocean.
Yep.
So the tidal can come up and down during the day. On the end of the ramp, on the end of the dock, is no doubt one of those ramps that can go up and down with the tide, that you could walk up and down.
Yeah, because it's a floating dock, right?
Correct,
So
a floating dock.
the ramp is anchored to the land, so it has to roll up and down. So
Exactly.
You can still walk down to it.
Now, and at the base of it, going out in like an L shape, is the floating dock,
Yep.
which is on the water, shackled to a piling, driven down. And on this float are two Adirondack chairs, one painted white, one painted red. So they're out there, and I said to Rob, like, nobody else was around? And he said, no, it's just one of those things where it was just me, our little family group. And Rob, they had been watching seals in this clear water, and they were watching gulls diving into the water feeding on bait fish. So after a spell, Rob and his wife decide to go back up to the hotel, leaving the two 15-year-olds sitting in the Adirondack chairs. Now, I asked Rob after the fact, how deep was the water? And he said, well, it was crystal clear, but the bottom had a lot of moss and greenery on it, so at the time, we couldn't tell how deep it was. It wasn't until the tide had gone out, and the following day they were looking at the area, that he surmised at high tide, 12 to 15 feet of water was what they were looking at.
Okay.
So here we go. Rob and his wife go back into the hotel, and a couple of minutes later, the boys come in. And they told Rob that we saw something. And you have to kind of know, Rob is kind of like a freaking detective, like if he gets a bite of you, he's not going to let you go till he gets all the information. So he says, what do you mean you saw something? And they said, well, during the description, they said, picture T-Rex mating with an alligator. And, he's just like, what the hell are you talking about? And so they go on to tell him they were sitting in these chairs and all the seals came out of the water up onto the shore. And they were watching one gull go diving into the water. And anybody who's seen gulls or terns or anything dive bombing bait fish, they just go speeding in head first, wings folded back, They go into the water, nail their fish, turn right around, and as soon as they come to the surface, they start flapping and take off. So this gull comes in, hits the water, turns around, and as it starts to exit into the air, launching out of the water 20 feet away from these boys in these Adirondack chairs, is this monster with a huge, thick neck, and the boys told Robert its head was 3 feet long, had fangs as long as the boy's forearm, had horn-like appendages on its head, green, lumpy skin, and a long body that after it jumped out, it snatched the gull. It was coming up for the bird and flew right out of the water to get it, swung around facing them, dove back in, and then its tail flipped up, which the boys described to Robert as looking like a mermaid's tail. And on the tail end of the tail, before the fluke, there was like five, I think he said 5 or 6 like horns coming off the tail section like spikes. Now, can you imagine? They start describing this to Rob, and Rob's a Bigfoot guy, and he's into all kinds of stuff. He and his wife had seen the Ogopogo a number of years ago.
That's there. Another similar sea serpent there up in British Columbia.
Correct, the Ogopogo.
Yeah.
And he swears what he and his wife saw was the Ogopogo, and that was years ago. He's also had rocks thrown at him by what we believe was a Bigfoot. So he's asking the guys more and more about this. And so Rob says to them, if I was to ask you, did you see a fish, a reptile, or a mammal, what would you say? And the two of them said, a reptile. And they saw no fins on it, but this gigantic head with fang teeth that must have been a foot long. He's talking about the length of his forearm from elbow to wrist. And this thing comes launching out of what was 12 to 15 feet of water, chasing down a bird of all things. I mean, they must feed on all kinds of stuff. You know, I know alligators do that too. And this thing, boom, boom, boom. And Rob says, Bill, I can't tell you how pissed off I was that 2 minutes stood between me and having the sighting with the boys and not seeing it at all. Absolutely incredible, huh, Kev?
Amazing.
So
but that's how it is, right? Especially with sea creatures. I mean, the thing could be right there, and you're not going to see it unless it surfaces.
Yeah, so, he felt obligated to report this. And he did a little Googling and came up with some cryptozoological society or something or other right up there, called them, and in 2 minutes after leaving a message, he got a call back. And these people came out. They told him this is the first sighting we've had of this creature this year. In other words, there have been sightings.
Oh, yeah.
And
there's hundreds of sightings of this, by the way, documented.
Yeah, bizarre, Kev, right?
Yeah.
And they interviewed the boys. The next day they came down. They wanted to see the body of water at low tide. I have a picture of that. And basically, when they were leaving, Rob asked the boys, who are computer literate, if they would give a crack at using some AI on the computer and coming up with a drawing of what they saw, what it looked like. And I have that drawing, Kev. I guess maybe I could pass it on to you.
You sent it over to me, yeah.
You got it already, right?
Yeah.
So you saw what the boys did on AI. Is that the freakiest thing you've ever seen?
Yeah, it looks like an old-timey image of Nessie,
With that kind of head?
Yeah, kind of.
Well, I could be wrong, but they said no flippers and a fluke, a mermaid's tail, which we would call a fluke. looks like the tail fin on a flounder or the fluke fish itself, the bottom feeders. So, man, and the boys, I think they said 40 or 60 feet long, they estimated.
Yeah, and that's what they talk about with this creature.
Yeah, big freaking... Kev, I told Rob, Rob, those boys and other people are hanging out on that dock, and you could be out there by yourself at night, wetting a line with a little fishing pole. This thing could creep right up on you in that dock, nail you, and take you in, and nobody would know what happened to you. Just pick
Tell you
right
what, Bill,
off.
even if it creeped up on you and didn't nail you, I might have a heart attack seeing that beast.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine seeing something elevating out of the water, even if it's stuck up 6 feet looking at you?
Cannot imagine.
Oh, my God. Talk about bizarre. And listen, folks, this is the nature of what I do. When you start talking about Bigfoot and I'm having conversations with people and people get to know me, and they know I could talk about all things that revolve around the sun with them and they're not going to be ridiculed. I hear about ghosts, poltergeists, Bigfoot, people talking, entities in houses. You name it, I've heard stories about it. And, here's what I don't know why I got to throw this out there. Maybe I shouldn't. Well, you remember who the Night Stalker was, Kev, right? Ramirez?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I met this sheriff who thought he had some type of supernatural Bigfoot encounter, and I agree with him. And the conversation went on. Well, he was a guard for Ramirez in a prison out in California. And Ramirez, who was obviously a demonic devil of the highest order, used to get all kinds of mail, like these serial killers do. Lipstick on the envelopes, love story, want to marry you, all this crap. And for the life of me, I don't know why that happens. Well, he told me that this woman used to come in with a guy, pale skin, wearing a hooded long shroud. Let's call it a shroud like Lily Munster used to wear. And she would come in with this other guy to meet up with Ramirez. And he told me that when this chick came in, he just had the creeps every time, like he was in the presence of pure evil.
Ugh.
So time went on, and he found out after the fact that this chick was a high priestess in some church of Satan in that district or area. And she was coming over there to visit Ramirez like he was their poster boy for evil,
Yeah.
So I don't even know how I got in that subject, but I started sharing with you folks how I hear about a lot of things. And that I talked to a lot of people through the years, and that was just another one of a lot of things.
Yikes.
So what do we got, Kevin? I'll listen to Bill.
That fits a Get the Creep On t-shirt, by the way. We're running a little long, but it's a good podcast, Bill. So we're going to do a quick email tonight from Michael in New York. And Michael wrote in real short, but he said there is a big Sasquatch conference in upstate New York. And he says, are you guys going to go in October? And Michael, although I would love to be up in upstate New York in the fall with the leaves turning, I just cannot make it. Too long of a ride for me from North Carolina. And both my brother and I are just super busy. We do this. A lot of folks don't publish. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of folks don't, because many folks do. But it's very difficult to publish a weekly podcast and have full-time jobs and have other stuff going on in your life and stuff like that. So tough to get away. I do try to go to some of them that are in the middle of the winter when there's less going on here in North Carolina, where I can just kind of drive out and come back the same day. But we're not going to that one, Michael, but thanks for the heads up. Maybe you could send us some pictures if you end up going.
Yeah, remember, folks, if you go to the store to shop and get any merchandise, we're having a little thing here where if you take a picture of you wearing some of the new cool merch or whatever, just don't show your picture. And Kevin recommends you wear
don't
some.
don't show your face.
Don't show your
Ideally.
face.
But we do want you to share your picture.
Yeah, yes, you're wearing your gear. And we'll post one here or there to the website.
Maybe a picture of your coffee mug out on the back porch with a Bigfoot in the background.
Yeah. A Bigfoot laying on a slab.
Yeah, or if you live on the water in British Columbia, maybe a caddy in the background.
Yeah, and by the way, Kev, you mentioned that some show or event that was coming up where the guy was supposed to display the body of a Bigfoot.
Yeah. New York State Fair.
Yeah, so if anybody goes there and gets eyes on this thing, or if they let you take pictures, let us know what you thought of it,
Definitely.
I'm sure there's going to be some people that are going to go up there just to see it,
Yeah.
Anyways, great podcast. And folks, if you should find yourself hiking in Alaska, in the woods, in the Kootenai at night, or anywhere else for that matter, you best remember one thing, my friends. Always carry more gun than you think you're going to need. Sleep tight.